Before you click away, listen to this. The most dangerous moment in a relationship isn't betrayal, it's comfort. It's the quiet second when a woman realizes too late that the man she felt safest overlooking was the man she needed most. That realization hits like a cold room at night, and it changes everything. If this resonates even a little, subscribe now and like this video, because what we're unpacking today could save you years of regret or finally explain the silence you never understood. I'm speaking to you not as an entertainer, but as a female psychologist who has watched this pattern repeat in therapy rooms for decades. Women don't usually regret men because those men were perfect. They regret them because those men were consistent, predictable, emotionally available. And paradoxically, that safety can become invisible over time. The human nervous system adapts quickly to stability, and once something no longer triggers emotion, it stops getting attention. Here's the truth most men are never told. Regret doesn't begin when a woman leaves. It begins when she stops feeling challenged internally. Not challenged by chaos, but by growth. When a man gives without boundaries, loves without self-respect, and stays without requiring reciprocity, the relationship quietly loses polarity. Desire doesn't die in explosions. It fades in routine where effort goes unrecognized. Taking someone for granted is rarely conscious. It's a slow psychological drift. She tells herself, "He'll always be here." That thought feels comforting at first, then dull, then suffocating. And when the mind associates a person with emotional flatness, attraction goes dormant. Not because you lacked value, but because your value became assumed. The regret starts later, when reality interrupts the fantasy. When she encounters men who are exciting but unreliable, confident but emotionally unavailable. That's when memory rewrites itself. Suddenly, your patience looks like strength. Your loyalty feels rare. Your presence, once background noise, becomes a benchmark. Understand this clearly. Regret is not about missing you. It's about missing how she felt when she was grounded, safe, and chosen without games. And by the time that awareness surfaces, you're often no longer emotionally reachable. That gap between realization and access is where regret lives, and it's far heavier than heartbreak. That is why understanding this now matters, because self-respect, boundaries, and presence reshape attraction, whether she returns or not, and determine who regrets whom in the end over time consistently. Let me tell you something most men never hear until it's too late. Regret doesn't start when she loses you. It starts the moment she stops feeling safe, taking you for granted. At first, she didn't plan to undervalue you. It happened quietly, through comfort, through predictability, through your consistency becoming invisible. You showed up, you listened, you forgave, and slowly, your presence stopped feeling earned and started feeling guaranteed. That's where the shift begins. A woman doesn't regret a man because he leaves. She regrets him because she realizes she misread his value while she still had access to it. Regret is not nostalgia, it's the shock of contrast. It's the moment her nervous system notices the absence of something stabilizing, grounding, irreplaceable. And here's the truth that stings. While you were there, she compared you to potential. After you're gone, she compares potential to you. When a woman takes a man for granted, she's not consciously disrespecting him. She's unconsciously prioritizing stimulation over security. Familiarity feels flat when emotional maturity is mistaken for boredom. Your calm felt boring next to chaos. Your loyalty felt predictable next to uncertainty. And predictability, to an untrained emotional mind, feels like a lack of value until it's gone. Regret doesn't show up as tears at first. It shows up as irritation. She dates someone new and notices how often she has to explain herself. She feels misunderstood. She feels emotionally unsafe. And then her body remembers how regulated it felt around you. That's when regret begins to settle in. Not because she misses you, but because her nervous system does. This is important for you to understand. Women don't regret men who beg to be chosen. They regret men who chose themselves too late. The regret comes when she realizes she was given something rare and treated it as common. You didn't fail because you weren't enough. You failed because you were too available without being emotionally scarce. And here's the part no one tells you. Regret grows when she sees you thriving without needing her validation. When your absence doesn't collapse you, but sharpens you. That's when her mind starts replaying moments she dismissed. conversations she half listened to, warnings she ignored. That's when she realizes the loss wasn't loud. It was silent. And silent losses are the hardest to undo. Stay with me, because what I'm about to explain next is the exact psychological moment when regret becomes permanent. There comes a quiet moment most men never witness. It doesn't happen during an argument. It doesn't happen when she leaves. It happens later, when the noise is gone and the distractions stop working. This is when regret begins its real work. I want you to understand this from the inside, because it's not dramatic, it's surgical. She starts comparing, not consciously at first, but emotionally. The new man laughs louder but listens less. He texts faster but remembers nothing important. He's present, yet she feels oddly alone. And that's when the memory of you slips in, not as nostalgia, but as contrast. Regret doesn't start with missing your face. It starts with missing how she felt around you, the calm, the safety, the way her nervous system could finally rest. Women don't regret men who were perfect. They regret men who were grounding, men who didn't need to perform dominance because they embodied stability. And here's the part that stings the most for her. She realizes she didn't lose you because you were weak. She lost you because you were patient for too long. She remembers the moments she dismissed, the way you showed up without keeping score, the way you didn't weaponize her flaws. At the time, that felt ordinary, predictable, boring. But now, in hindsight, she recognizes something rare: emotional leadership without control. And regret sharpens when she understands this wasn't something she could easily replace, because what you gave wasn't intensity, it was consistency. Psychologically, regret deepens when responsibility becomes unavoidable. She can no longer blame timing, stress, or confusion. The truth becomes clearer. She mistook safety for stagnation. She confused peace with lack of passion because chaos had trained her nervous system. And now, surrounded by noise, she understands what silence with you actually meant. This is also when she starts rewriting the story she told herself. The justifications lose their power. The narratives crack. And in that crack, awareness forms. Not guilt yet, awareness. Awareness that you didn't fail her. She failed to value you when valuing you was easy. And here's what I want you to hear carefully. Her regret is not proof you should go back. It's proof that your presence had weight, that your absence created a vacuum. Real regret only happens when something irreplaceable is recognized too late. And by the time she truly understands what she lost, you are no longer the man waiting to be chosen. You are the man she measures others against. She doesn't regret you when she leaves. That comes later. Regret begins when the noise dies down and her nervous system finally rests. As a psychologist, I've watched this moment arrive quietly, usually at night. It's when her victories stop feeling like victories. The attention she thought she wanted starts to feel cheap, and the memory of you becomes heavier than she expected. Regret starts when she realizes you were safe, not boring, consistent, not weak, predictable, not passionless. While she was chasing emotional spikes, you were offering emotional shelter. And only after chaos does the mind understand the value of calm. She begins comparing, not consciously at first, but emotionally. Other men excite her, but they don't stabilize her. They pursue her body, but not her nervous system. This is where psychology turns cruel. The brain rewrites history. She remembers how you listened without trying to win, how you stayed steady when she was volatile, how you didn't abandon her when she tested limits. And suddenly, the traits she minimized become rare. Not because you changed, but because her environment did. Regret deepens when accountability arrives, when she realizes you weren't the problem she outgrew, but the standard she failed to respect. This is painful because it threatens her self-image. To admit she took you for granted means admitting she misjudged value. So she resists it. She tells herself stories. She focuses on your flaws. But the body remembers differently. Your absence forces reflection. When you're no longer there to absorb her stress, she feels it alone. When you're no longer available, she notices how much emotional labor you carried without applause. That's when the regret sharpens. Not dramatic, not cinematic, quiet, heavy, persistent. And here's the truth men rarely hear. Regret doesn't always lead to return. Sometimes it leads to reverence. You become the man she measures others against, even if she never admits it. You were the reference point she lost, and that loss doesn't fade. It matures, it follows her, and it teaches her a lesson she learns too late. She may smile publicly, date confidently, and speak as if she moved on, but internally, a quiet comparison keeps running. Every moment of disappointment traces back to you. That is regret's final form. Not longing, not chasing, but recognition that something irreplaceable was mishandled and remembered long after she pretends she forgot the cost of certainty alone. There is a moment most men never see because it happens quietly, long after the door closes. It is the moment regret begins to form, not as pain, but as confusion. She wakes up one morning and feels an absence she cannot name. Life is moving forward, yet something essential is missing. This is where regret truly starts, not when she is alone, but when she realizes the world did not become better without you in it. As a psychologist, I see this pattern again and again. Regret grows when contrast appears. The men she meets after you reflect pieces of you she no longer has. They listen less deeply. They show up inconsistently. They promise loudly and deliver weakly. Slowly, without admitting it, her nervous system remembers how safe it once felt. What intensifies this regret is time. Time removes emotional noise and leaves behind truth. The arguments fade. Small annoyances lose importance. What remains is how you made her feel during ordinary moments. Did she feel grounded when you were near? Did she feel chosen without needing to perform? When she took you for granted, she assumed your presence was permanent. When you left, permanence vanished. That loss rewires perception. Suddenly, the qualities she minimized become rare. Stability feels attractive. Consistency feels powerful. Emotional maturity feels irreplaceable. Here is the part most men misunderstand. Her regret is not always about wanting you back. Often, it is about mourning who she was when she was with you. The version of herself that felt calmer, more secure, more hopeful. When that version disappears, she searches for it everywhere. New relationships cannot recreate it because it was co-created with you. This realization is heavy. It produces a quiet grief that follows her into new connections. She compares without meaning to. Nothing quite matches. This is why silence from you matters so much. When you do not chase, explain, or seek validation, you become a fixed point in her memory. Mystery amplifies regret. Your absence forces her to sit with unanswered questions. Did she misjudge you? Did she overlook something rare? Could things have evolved differently if she had valued you more? Understand this deeply. Regret is not triggered by punishment or revenge. It is triggered by dignity, by growth, by you becoming someone she can no longer access. This awareness lingers silently, shaping future choices, memories, and late-night reflections alone now. Regret doesn't arrive with drama. It arrives quietly, in moments she never expected to feel empty. As a psychologist, I've watched this pattern repeat with painful consistency. A woman takes a man for granted, not because he was weak, but because his strength became predictable. He was steady, available, emotionally generous. Over time, her nervous system stopped registering his value because nothing about his presence threatened loss. And when loss feels impossible, appreciation fades. Here's the truth most men never hear. Her regret begins the moment she realizes her emotional safety net is gone. Not when you beg, not when you explain, not when you try to prove your worth. Regret starts when your absence forces her to feel consequences she avoided while you were there. Silence becomes a mirror. Distance becomes a teacher. She starts replaying memories she once ignored. The way you showed up when she was overwhelmed. The consistency she once called boring now feels rare. What changed is not you. What changed is contrast. The world without you doesn't cushion her emotions the same way. And that discomfort wakes something deep inside her. This is where men make a critical mistake. They rush back the moment they sense regret. They answer late-night messages. They provide closure, reassurance, emotional labor. In doing so, they erase the very condition that allowed regret to form. Regret needs space to mature. It needs uncertainty. It needs her to sit with the outcome of her choices without rescue. Understand this. A woman does not regret losing a man who is still available to her emotionally. She regrets losing access to his presence, his validation, his stability. When that access is removed, her brain begins reassessing value. Scarcity activates attachment. Familiarity numbs it. This isn't about punishment. It's about psychology. When you remain grounded, silent, and self-directed, you shift the power dynamic without hostility. You stop performing and start existing. And existence without availability is what reframes your worth in her mind. If she reaches out, it's not always love. Often it's discomfort seeking relief. Your role is not to soothe it. Your role is to respect yourself enough to let her feel it fully. That is where true regret either deepens into respect or fades into a lesson. And either outcome serves your growth. Carry forward with discipline, self-respect, patience, and purpose. Those qualities outlast regret and attract healthier bonds ahead.